It's fun to play around with the idea that factions we normally see will be allies going to war, see who would win. It can make for a fun thing. Now, I've had a lot of requests recently on this channel with requests for different versus episodes, and to be honest, I'm going to do a lot of them because they sound kind of fun. But there was one I had in mind, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to start crossing universes. I know other channels have done it before, but I never have, so I don't care what they've done. And I thought, you know what would be the Earth Alliance versus the High Guard, or something like that. And I thought a really big one, like culminate it together, have them all break down and like defeat each other one by one, and see who culminates as the winner, and do one big episode of them all fighting. And I thought, well, who could I throw into that mix? And I thought, well, obviously Starfleet, the High Guard, the Earth Alliance, the Imperium of Man. And there, I suddenly stopped, and I was like, oh dear. I love Warhammer. I don't talk about it much on this channel because I'm not a huge super fan of Warhammer, if that sentence made any sense. But I do really love it. The universe is insane, and rightfully so. It's a lot of fun. But as soon as I started thinking, well, if I start throwing the SGC into the mix, like the Earth Fleet from Stargate, or even using the Asgard, or if I stick with purely human factions, which was actually going to be my plan, to stick with the human factions, I think, again, I come back to the Imperium of Man, and I just realised I just nobody wins. And here's my thought. This video's odd for a versus one, I know. I can't do those crossovers. I can't, because any time I put the Imperium of Man up against any of the other factions, they win. Some of the other factions have certain advantages. For example, the High Guard from Andromeda. One of their greatest advantages is slipstream. It's not the best way to travel faster than light, it's the only way to travel faster than light, but they can literally traverse galaxies in hours. They can fly between the tri-galaxies, the three different galaxies that they predominantly are in literally hours, maybe days. The Imperium of Man can still take years to cross the galaxy. Star Wars, if we're using any factions from there, what they call light speed in Star Wars is not light speed, it's actually a form of FTL. It's actually insanely fast. So compare that to Star Trek. It took Voyager 70-ish years to travel about, what, 3/4 of the galaxy? Ish. And it's nothing by comparison. So there's major advantages. Now the Imperium of Man is actually at a massive disadvantage there. They're pretty slow compared to the High Guard, but in every other meaningful way. Because if you're going to cross universes, you've got to start thinking, well, you've got to scale things so they're roughly similar. It's not fair to put the puny Earth Alliance up against, you know, the vastness of the Federation, because the two factions don't really compare. One's got shields, one doesn't. One's using fusion-based weapons, one's using advanced photonic antimatter and plasma and phasers and stuff. Nothing by comparison. So you've got to scale it to begin with. You've got to make the weapons like, oh well, we've got to assume the weapons are the same sort of strength. But even doing that, just nothing. The Imperium would flatten any of these factions. They might not be able to outmaneuver them, but they're so big, so vast. There are literally quintillions of humans in the Imperium. And there are many more humans which the Imperium considers part of the Imperium, that might be part of the Tau or something. But basically, if you're human, you're a citizen of the Imperium, whether you like it or not. And even the small percentage of humans that for one reason or another remain undetected to the Imperium, or have managed to stay out of it, or generally it's forgotten about, there are still quintillions of humans. Earth alone, Holy Terra itself, trillions and trillions and trillions of people on one planet. Then there's Mars and Venus and other worlds in the system. Many more trillions of people all together across one system. There are hundreds of billions of soldiers in the infantry, probably more. There are millions of ships. The sheer vastness of the Imperium of Man. Any one of the enemies from that universe would make for the main bad guy of any of the other universes. And the Imperium of Man on the daily goes up against the kind of enemies that humanity is struggling with in Halo, i.e., you know, the Hive and the Tyranids and all those things. They're the Imperium, when you drop them into any other faction, they're like, dude, the Borg, no problem. What, they assimilated 1 billion of our soldiers, so what? Send another 2 billion, it's fine. It's like they just keep going. And they just don't worry about numbers, and they've got such unconscionable resources. Every time I place them against a faction and scale their technology to be at least similar, the Imperium, the only faction that maybe stands a chance, and I'm pushing the maybe here, is the Empire from Star Wars, and I'm definitely pushing it because the Empire is nowhere near big enough. But at least when it comes to scaling, their ships are maybe comparable. But even so, some of the bigger ships in Warhammer dwarf Star Wars. You've got to get up to Death Star levels before you're really beginning to really push it. And even in Warhammer, the Imperium has access to weapons far more numerous and destructive than the Death Star. So I basically decided I can't actually do this series because I'll have to leave the Imperium out of it. And I don't want to leave the Imperium out of it because I love Warhammer. I could pick another faction, but the problem is I encounter the same problem from any faction. Who am I going to pick? The Orcs? The Tyranids? The Tau? Well, maybe the Tau. But there's no one anywhere in any universe that really compares, and I just realised I can't even do any of those episodes. However, I am going to do the general versus episodes for now. I might stick to Star Trek because I've had a few suggestions, some good, some bad. Gonna do them. If you have any more, please feel free to put them in the comment section of this video, or even go over to Instagram and comment on one of my posts on there, because I probably more likely see it, because I do miss a lot of the ones on YouTube, because I do get a fair number now. I am still tempted to do the cross-universe ones, and if anyone out there thinks maybe I should, and maybe I just leave Warhammer out of it, what do you think? I could do some verses for the different races in those universes. It'd be a nice distraction from my usual pure Star Trek content, while maybe still managing to be Star Trek content. Again, feel free, comments below. You want to see Klingons versus Luxon or something? Put it in the comment section below. Klingons versus Luxon. It's kind of interesting. Kind of going back to my Warrior Races series I used to do. God, I kind of missed doing that series. I kind of ran out of races I was interested in, though. That's why I brought it to a close. Anyway, that's the end of this video. It was more just my ramble as to why I can't do videos. So yeah, congratulations, you made it on to this video. That it really wasn't a video about anything, just something I was pondering. But there we go. Any suggestions in here, or move over to Instagram and do it there. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Bye bye.